Today, we are diving into a true classic of Egyptian literature, Ihsan Abdel Kouddous' incredibly haunting novel, I Do Not Sleep. The entire story is one long first-person confession from a young woman in Cairo named Nadia Lutfi, and she is about to unpack a lifetime of destructive impulses that have completely defined her. So, the whole book is actually framed as this long, rambling letter to the author himself. Nadia's writing because she is desperate to understand her own life, her own soul. She has this idea that if she can just get an answer to one single profound question, everything else might finally click into place.
And what a question it is. This gets right to the absolute heart of her turmoil. You see, she's not just asking for some simple advice. No, she is wrestling with the very nature of existence, of good and evil, and maybe most importantly, why a supposedly good God would let a soul like hers even exist. This one question just hangs over every single thing she's about to confess.
So who is this Nadia Lutfi? Well, she makes it crystal clear right from the start that she is not what she seems. By her own admission, she's one of the most beautiful girls in Cairo. You know, the kind of girl who's used to turning heads everywhere she goes. But all that beauty, it's just a mask.
In this right here, this is the central conflict that just tears her apart. On the outside, she looks like perfection itself, but inside she feels this force that she just calls evil, an impulse to ruin things just because. And she actually loves the fact that no one can see past her innocent face to what she calls the locked box of her soul.
So how do you even describe an urge like that? Well, Nadia has this perfect, powerful metaphor she uses herself. She's like a child who wants to destroy her favorite doll. And she really emphasizes that it's not for any reason, not for revenge, not to get something. It's just a pure, motiveless, and honestly chilling desire to watch something beautiful break.
And just look at how calculated this is. Even when she was just a young girl, she spots some poor, naive boy who's admiring her, and then, day by day, she carefully cultivates his hope. She smiles, she slows down her walk, she makes sure he can hear her voice. All of it is designed to draw him closer. And then right at the peak of his crush on her, she springs the trap, cries harassment, and just watches with satisfaction as he's brutally beaten for a crime that only ever existed in her head.
But here's the thing that makes this so complicated. She isn't just some monster who enjoys what she does without a second thought. Not at all. She is tormented by her own actions. She's constantly asking, why? Why am I like this? Why does God, who she genuinely believes in, seem to just leave her to these wicked impulses? It's like she's both the criminal and a horrified spectator to her own life.
Okay, so this inner battle, it's about to go nuclear, because the one stable, central thing in her life is suddenly threatened. Her father, the absolute center of her world, decides he's going to remarry. And this one act unleashes a side of Nadia that's way more devastating than anything she's done before.
To really get why she reacts the way she does, you have to understand the intensity of this bond she has with her father. It's not just love, it's completely possessive. She sees herself as the center of his universe, the one who runs his life, who manages his happiness. She even writes, "I'd sit among them with my eyes fixed on my father as if he were my only man."
So you can imagine when he introduces his new wife, a kind, gentle woman named Safi. Nadia doesn't see a stepmother. She sees an enemy. Her reaction is just immediate and absolute despair. In her mind, this marriage isn't a new start for her father, it's the end of her world. And his happiness has just become the new doll that she feels she has to destroy.
And so it begins. Her masterpiece of destruction. And it's not like a big, loud attack. No. It's this slow, methodical campaign of psychological warfare. She plays the part of the sad, worried daughter, all while she's planting these poisonous little ideas. She'll tell her dad these seemingly innocent stories about her friends being cheated on, just knowing those seeds of doubt will sprout in his mind and fester. She engineers situations, twisting reality bit by bit, until her father's mind becomes a prison of suspicion that she built just for him.
Now, while all this drama is unfolding at home, Nadia meets someone who's going to change everything for her. An older, sophisticated man named Mustafa. And he gives her something she has been craving her whole life, an intellectual excuse for her own nature.
Mustafa's philosophy completely flips the script on that world of good and evil that's been torturing Nadia. He basically argues that no one is truly a criminal or truly virtuous. We're all just products of our circumstances. A person who steals, he'd say, does it because of their situation, not because they're an evil person. At its core, his whole philosophy is, don't judge anyone, just pity them.
For Nadia, this is like a lightning bolt. It's the intellectual get-out-of-jail-free card she's been searching for. If there's no real sin, well then she's not a sinner. She's just a victim of her own complicated mind. This philosophy just dissolves her guilt, and, as she puts it, it hides God from her, which lets her continue her path of destruction without all the crippling torment.
So now she has this new worldview, right? And she uses it to justify what is, honestly, her final and most twisted act. After successfully destroying her father's marriage to Safi, she feels responsible for how miserable he is, and her solution is a plan so convoluted and cruel, it is almost unbelievable.
The plan starts out simply enough. She's going to handpick her father's next wife. She chooses an old-school friend, Kouddous, because she thinks this will let her manage the relationship and basically guarantee her father's happiness, but on her terms.
Of course, the plan immediately goes wrong. Nadia finds out that Kouddous is actually having an affair, and this puts her in a terrible spot. If she exposes the affair, she's going to devastate her father all over again, the very thing she was trying to prevent. Her father would become what she calls the duped husband, this figure of pity and shame.
And her solution to this is just breathtakingly perverse. To stop the crime of adultery from destroying her father, she decides to commit an even bigger crime herself. She actually fakes an engagement to her stepmother's lover, Samir, just to break up the affair. It's this unbelievably self-destructive plan born from a completely warped sense of love. She sacrifices her entire future to protect her father from a truth that she herself set in motion.
And in a twisted way, the plan works. Her father's marriage is saved from scandal, but the cost of all her manipulation is her own soul. And so we arrive at the very end of her letter, where she describes the hollowed-out person she's become. Her final self-assessment is just brutal. After spending a lifetime pulling the strings of everyone else's lives, she realizes that her own has completely unraveled. She is, in her own words, a person of non-existence.
An emptiness where a soul that was once filled with so much dark energy used to be.
She has destroyed absolutely everything. And finally, she's destroyed herself. There is just nothingness.
And in these final, chilling words, we finally understand the title of the book. I Do Not Sleep isn't about insomnia. It's about a state of being, no longer alive enough to be truly awake, but not able to truly sleep either. She just exists in this permanent hollow twilight, a dead person with open eyes.
And so we end right back where Nadia began, with a question. She, and that philosopher Mustafa, would probably argue that she isn't a criminal, but a victim of a mind she never chose. But after witnessing the lives she has systematically destroyed, can we really agree with that? The novel leaves us all with this really unsettling thought. If we are all just products of our circumstances, does the very concept of a crime even exist?